Hi, good day. My name is Vasant Subramaniam and this video is brought to you by iPhone Labs. In this video we'll be seeing how to configure a domain controller in Windows Server 2012. First we will set the VM to use a static IP address. I'm using VMware workstation on my PC and I have created a virtual machine with Windows Server 2012. So using the virtual private network preferences in VMware Workstation, I've allocated a specific IP address and I am setting this domain controller VM to use one static IP address because I don't want this to be changing every time it reboots. And the second thing that we will be seeing is how to enable the Windows features to make the VM a domain controller and also add the features for Active Directory. Alright, to make it more interesting, I've increased the clip speed, so don't assume that I'm performing these actions at this speed. So the first thing that I'm doing here is disabling the IPv6 on the VM, and then I'm providing the static IP address that I've allocated for this VM through my VMware workstation. So specify the subnet mask, and the preferred DNS server will always be this, representing localhost, because this is the domain controller. And I've just put one NIC to this VM. So double check using command prompt ipconfig, and I could see the VM with the correct IP address. I'm changing the computer name here, so you can change it to whatever you want. At this point, notice though it is still under work group. There is no domain yet. So once you change the computer name, you need to restart the system. So it's going to take a bit. Alright, it's back up again. I'm still going to log in using the local administrator account. It's not associated with any domain yet. So you may be wondering, I type local DC and you see Win 2012 DC. Well, that's the power of video editing. I just changed it and I've edited the video. So basically I renamed the system name to Win 2012 DC, representing Windows 2012 domain controller. Now these are some of the roles and server groups services that's enabled by default, like the file and storage services and local server and all servers. What I'm going to do now is add the Windows Server feature to make it a domain controller. So you need to add Active Directory domain services. If you want to use the certificate services, you can add it. So I've added in here in my case, but you may not need it. This is mainly for security. Well, just making sure that whatever services I need in file and storage services are present here. Well, that's pretty much it. So once you enable those features, you need to additionally enable the sub features or services. In this case, Active Directory Certification Service and Active Directory Domain Services, and finally DNS server. So if you wish, you can export the configurations for later use, or if you are gonna redo this for some reason, you can, having the configuration will help you configure the VM totally using PowerShell scripts. Well, this is gonna take a little while. It's gonna install all the features that we have enabled. Once those features are installed, you'd be seeing this alerts. And now comes the time to configure these features. I'm gonna use my company domain name as a root name. It's -labs.com. I want to use that, and I want to associate all my servers and users to this domain. I'm not going to mention the password to you, but you need to enter a password here. So these are some of the warnings which, if you want basic use such as mine, you can just try to ignore that. And notice that your root domain name was -labs all caps, not .com or anything as such. So that's what is going to show up when you create the users or add your servers to the domain. So these are some of the warnings, regarding the passwords and security. For my use, I think I can try to ignore these warnings, but if you are on an enterprise scenario, you may want to consider mitigating all these warnings and correcting them. Still going on. Once the Active Directory Domain Services configuration wizard complete, you would have the domain controller up and running. So it's so simple as what you just saw. So creating a domain controller and configuring it is not a big task. So it's just that how well you do that, and what domain name that you want to choose, and how you want to configure this in the Active Directory form in the enterprise scenario matters a lot. Alright, the computer needs to be restarted once it is installed and configured, so I'm going to restart it. And this time, notice that as soon as I press Ctrl Alt Delete, my domain is already here. The local administrator account is already associated to this domain now. So technically this VM is acting as a domain controller and is already in the domain called -labs. So I can add any more VMs into this domain, and I can do Windows failover clustering. I can set up a NAS file server or anything that I want to do. It kind of mimics the enterprise scenario at this point onwards. I'm just checking the red warnings here. That's one of the Google, probably Chrome, that I just installed in the template that it was complaining about. Now you can see that there are a bunch of tools available for Active Directory administration. Using these tools you can add computers to the domain, add users to the domain. I'm just exploring it here. This is how your domain administrator or Active Directory administrator views its tools in your enterprise Active Directory scenario. Alright, I hope this video has helped you in some way. For any questions, feel free to email me at bistalk@labs.com. Thank you, and feel free to leave a feedback or a comment if you like this. Bye. Have a good day.